During what seems like an ordinary commercial flight, a series of bizarre events begins to unfold. An elderly passenger suddenly dies, after which several other passengers start bleeding from their ears and eyes. As if that weren't enough, the plane flies into a strange storm that behaves unnaturally, while the onboard electronics begin to malfunction. None of this is a coincidence. It's part of an alien attack, as extraterrestrials search for human bodies to inhabit. At their core, horror movies are always about people trapped in difficult, dangerous, often hopeless situations, forced to confront forces far beyond their control. Flight 298 gets that part right. It locks its characters inside an airplane cruising at high altitude. Communication with the ground is lost, the pilots are powerless, there's nowhere to run, and no help is coming. It's easy to see why producers would greenlight a movie with a premise like this. The limited number of locations keeps costs down, and a film like this doesn't require expensive A-list stars. Unfortunately, that formula only works if the filmmakers have a genuinely strong script, one that balances suspense, action, and human drama in equal measure. Black Box isn't so lucky. Screenwriter Steven Susko has been working in Hollywood for decades. Among other credits, he wrote 2 installments of the American The Grudge remake series and the surprisingly solid sequel to Unfriended, but those successes are well behind him. Much like another recent film he wrote, Do Not Enter, Black Box suffers from a lack of focus, tonal uncertainty, and painfully generic storytelling born from predictable plotting and characters of astonishing stupidity. The cast is sketched with just a handful of broad, not always appropriate strokes. They have no arcs, no real personalities. They differ only in their stereotypes. Even the casting itself seems to have been based on physical resemblance to famous actors. Whyte, who plays the flight attendant at the center of the story, has a fairly modest resume, but she bears a striking resemblance to Emma Stone. The film was directed by Stephen Quale, known both as James Cameron's longtime second-unit director, having worked on Titanic and Avatar, among others, and as the director of Final Destination 5 and the commercially successful but artistically underwhelming disaster film Into the Storm. On Black Box, Quale also served as cinematographer, but that didn't result in any particularly memorable visuals. The cramped airplane cabin makes the film feel visually confined, cheap, and surprisingly small in scale. It also seems to have suffered heavily in the editing room. Anyone with a trained eye can see how ruthlessly the film's dramatic structure was chopped apart in an effort to keep the pacing from dragging. The movie is undeniably fast-paced, but it's an artificial kind of momentum, generated not by a tightly wound narrative, but by the illusion of constant activity. The characters are always busy doing something, yet the story itself barely moves for long stretches. There are a couple of memorable set pieces, including an attempt to parachute out of the airplane, but they're swallowed by the overall shapelessness and pointlessness of everything surrounding them. Nothing here feels genuine. There's no depth, no breathing room, only lifeless cliches struggling to survive an increasingly contrived situation in the dumbest ways imaginable, all while being staged as cheaply as possible. It's the perfect recipe for a truly bad movie.